Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. I am playing through Renegade, and in our last video we were able to survive round number 2. We're moving into round number 3 of the current cycle. Now I was doing some thinking in terms of what I'd like to purchase starting in this round. Our main goal is to defeat or pass this countermeasure essentially, and we need one neural hub still in order to complete that. It needs to be on one of these 5 servers. That's my main goal. Now the fun part is there's 4 market cards, which I'm debating over which one is best. The Council Cowboy is by far the most powerful card of all 4, but the downside is if I go ahead and try to get it, it's going to limit me and almost guarantee a fail on our countermeasure. And the reason is I looked at almost every combination in my head at least as to how I could get these cards in my hand and somehow be able to create a neural hub as well, and I could not find a way to make it work if I'm also taking the Console Cowboy. So sadly, I'm going to have to either choose go for the Console Cowboy or go for the neural hub success. And I think I have to lean towards that neural hub, because if I don't, the risk on the other side of that card could be really bad. And I don't know what it is yet until we flip it over and find out if we fail, but I don't want to. And I know that every fail condition on this countermeasure is supposed to be nasty. Successes are supposed to be either eh or, you know, they could be bad, but sometimes they're good. So it's like, I'd rather take the risk and not get the Console Cowboy and just cry about it later. So what I'm going to do is start doing some purchasing. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at my hand. So my hand is actually not terrible, but I'm going to go ahead and take my interrupt card here, which gives me 1 deception. I'm going to use that card to go shopping here, and we're going to purchase an advanced command. So I'm using that 1 right there. I'm going to grab the dancing pig because that's a pretty easy one. It's going to give me double the amount, as well as an execute action, which allows me to basically swap a contaminant with a spark on my server. Pretty handy. So that'll go in my hand, and there we go. And we get to delete this card as a chosen card to lose from my current deck. Now I got to think about what I want to purchase next. Well, here's a decent idea. This one's called Trickery Master. Now, debating this actually even as I speak as to whether this is a good idea. It's probably not, but anyway. Okay, so Trickery Mastery, or Master. It's going to give me 1 deception and it's 1 leadership. It's a good card. I don't actually really want to necessarily give away this card, but I don't have anything else in my hand that I necessarily want to get rid of either. Although when I say that, I'm kind of looking at Read Request. I know Read Request seems like a really handy card, but it is kind of a handy card. It just, okay, I'm going to go with this. I'll get rid of this one. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this to purchase with the 1 leadership, the digital tattoo. And the reason I'm doing that is it's going to give me the ability to use it for an uplink. But as you'll notice here in the bottom, if I'm using that uplink, or not uplink, sorry, cognition, and if I'm using that cognition for a shop action when I'm showing my digital tattoo, I also gain a leadership. So it's kind of like just as strong essentially as this card when I'm going shopping, but otherwise it's just good for basically going ahead and doing things that I want to do this turn. So it's a little bit harsh. This one I kind of liked, but I'm going to let it go. So there's that. The next thing is to decide on this one. Now focus right here is just 2 cognition. So I was looking at Ginger Cool and I was going, okay, Ginger Cool is actually 2 cognition as well. Plus it gives me the wild there of the leadership. And it also gives me an interrupt action, which allows me to, after any spark roll, to instead change the face of one of the spark dice to whatever you desire. So that sounds pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this card. And basically we're going to take every single card except for the Console Cowboy. And now we're going to have a kind of a little bit better of a hand, and we can actually try to hopefully make use of that hand the best way possible. Now the fun part is doing all this in order, because there's a lot. Now we have a spark currently at the location we're at, and I want to deal with that because I know at the end of this whole round we're going to have a new spark come on based on the mother's ability there to start a turn, kind of adding a spark. It's going to constantly happen. I'd really at some point like to just get a virus setup going on there, or have a propagator set up there to just constantly be battling against those sparks as they drop. But it's going to be kind of like a slow progress as I also focus very heavily on the neural hub right now. So, and there's a ton of sparks because we're playing the most difficult one. So what we're going to end up doing probably is I have to find a way to either delete that spark. Now, I could risk it right now and try to go after the spark with a die roll. It's extremely risky, and it could be the stupidest thing I've ever done. But Oh, and you know what? Now that I think about this, it's gonna be tough because really when I'm looking at my hand here, in order to create that one more contaminant we need, which is going to be one more green uplink here, we need to spend at least 3. And in order to spend at least 3, we're going to be using probably Ginger Cool and likely Digital Tattoo together in order to get that on the table. When we do that, it's still not a neural hub until we use another one as a separate action to install an actual neural hub. So it's like 2 separate actions basically. So we're going to need another, we're going to need another card that can handle that. And really the only one is Read Receipt because it has the leadership icon. I can use it for anything. So basically we're using these 3 cards right here for our ability to get the neural hub on. So we know we can do it. The other thing is we also know we need a move action to get ourselves all the way over here in the first place. So we could take Data Steal, for instance, and go, okay, so there's 4 cards. So just to complete our countermeasure alone, we're going to be spending 4 cards to do so, leaving us with only a move and a dancing pig. So it's not exactly kind of what I wanted, but the other thing is we do have a virus here, and so what will end up happening at the end of the cycle is there will be a spark battle going on where I won't get to add any extra destruction commands to it in order to increase my chances of beating the spark, but it's basically just a straight off roll off between the spark and the virus to see who rolls higher, and basically whoever does wins. So it could go really well for me or I could lose, but it's kind of a shot in the dark. Now, there is something I can do with this Dancing Pig card that is interesting. It says that I can execute it to instead have 1 contaminant on your server, swap partitions with 1 spark on your server. So the question really becomes, you know, is that worth it? Now, what I could do, if I go ahead and I do this, what I could do is take this spark and push it over to here. Now, by doing that, now the thing is, sorry, I couldn't do it to there. I have to actually swap it with something that actually is another contaminant. So I have to push it to somewhere that's safer. Now, this is not, I wouldn't want to swap these 2 because I'm just moving a spark to a spark and that's never good. But I want, maybe over here would make more sense because I probably likely don't have much reason to be heading up here yet. So maybe that's the right move, is to swap these around like this just to bide me a little bit more time. And also it just guarantees my virus survives a little bit longer. So I can hopefully come back here and either add more viruses to it or potentially focus on adding more replicants so we can just convert it, which would be even better. They're too weak right now, and I also don't want to run the risk of losing everything here. And this also allows me the fact of if I can get like a data, if I can create a data port here, which is one of these blue square tokens, I can actually potentially teleport to any other server on the map, which is really handy. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So in order to do that, I had to actually execute this. So I get the bottom half of the card. I'm using it for the execute action. So I'm performing that execute action. It says to instead have 1 contaminant, which I did, on your server, swap partitions with 1 spark. And we just did that swap now. So there we go. So this card is now burnt and gone. Now I do have this extra move, and it would have been nice to have 1 extra available even leadership ability, because then I could have put a data node here and that would have been handy. But I sadly am not going to have that available. So I'm going to have to, I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with this, to be honest, but we'll see. Maybe we can make something work. But let's focus on getting that neural hub down, because that's really the main focus of this whole thing. So we're going to go ahead now and generate our movement. So I said before, we're going to use Data Steal, which at some point I'd love to get rid of and get a better card. Data Steal is going to allow us to start our movement along our daisy chain kind of path there. So we're going to go ahead and head down the server. Now I could bring stuff with me, but I'm leaving everything there. I don't have a I know this is a focal point for the mother, so I'm leaving that stuff there. I don't have any reason to want to bring any of that stuff with me at this current time. So I'm just coming along the road here with anything. Now, again, she, being Tilda Sweet, has the ability to carry 1 spark with her. So I could be dragging sparks along with me as I go. But I mean, like I said, I don't want her to bring a spark into this location because I need to upload something here. And you can't upload if there's a spark there. So we've done our move, and I'm pretty happy with it for now. And we're kind of forced, this last round we're kind of forced because we really are going to be trying to succeed the countermeasures. So that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the digital tattoo along with the Ginger Cools. We're going to take a nice look at our tattoo as we crack open a can of Ginger Cool, and we're going to use it all together to create 3 cognition, which is enough to install, or I shouldn't say install, I guess it's upload 1 uplink to our current location. Now we have 3, and that is the max. You can't have any more than 3 of any one kind at any time. So that's the max. So we've done that. These 2 cards are now discarded. And then we're going to use the read request intercept, which is essentially useless to have at the end of the 3rd round because your deck is gone. So this card's main ability on the bottom lets you throw cards to the bottom of the pile to pull more, but is kind of a perfect card to use right now because I'm not using it for that. I'm just going to use it for its leadership, which is really handy. And this is going to allow me to install. So this is something we haven't actually done before. So we exchange 3 of one color, which is essentially we can exchange 3 of these uplinks in order to install the corresponding installation, essentially. So we're going to take these 3 tokens off the board, and this is going to do it, guys. This is actually going to make us successfully complete our countermeasure, thankfully. So we throw those away. We're going to grab one of these and drop it right here. There we go. We've got ourselves a neural hub. Now, neural hubs are really cool, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. Or maybe actually, you know what, let's talk about them now. So essentially the idea of a neural hub is if you're on a neural hub, you may project or ghost any action to any partition on your server. So essentially you can kind of pretend as if you're on a partition anywhere on Faith and do, you know, whatever you want kind of thing. That's really, really cool. So that'll come in extremely handy later on. And so it's a good one to get out, regardless of the fact we had the countermeasure that required it, basically, or you know, as a main objective. So we've used this now for its leadership, so this is also discarded. So at this point, essentially, we have 1 card left. And to be totally honest, moving-wise, I've got 2 movement. So, I mean, there's an argument there that says, you know, maybe I can move and I can potentially shift a spark somewhere else. To be totally honest, Faith is just completely piled up. It's a tough call because, I mean, I would like to move something if I had maybe 2 sparks on one location, but as of right now, just moving a spark around doesn't really do much for me, and if anything, it's just going to stop me from having kind of 2 spaces that are safe of them. So I think I'm okay where I'm at, and also it leaves me in a kind of a central location that if I need to start heading out, I can just start heading out to another server if something was to happen. I'm kind of riding the line between both, and I'm also able to ghost for the next turn depending on how nasty things get. So I think I'm happy. I'm going to basically say, you know, goodbye. I'm discarding down. So this is basically the end of the Renegade actions. I'm discarding all my played cards and discarding down all the way, and we're done. We've kind of run our run it through, and what we'll do now is, let me just make sure I do this correctly. Yeah, we'll do our shuffling of cards in a second here. So we're going to move into what's essentially called the Countermeasures phase. This is the first time you guys have ever seen this. And so this is going to have, now normally there's what's called a Sparks battle step. So for instance, if I hadn't shifted this spark out and it had been in here, we would have had a roll off between these 2 dice, and really whichever one was higher would have won. So we would have rolled, and that would have killed my virus basically. So the good thing is I shifted it off and I didn't make that risk, so that obviously worked out. I mean, that was just an example roll, but there you go. So that would have happened if they had been in the same spot, that always. So, you know, you can use an infect action to force that to happen during the game and boost your score by using destruction commands. But when you do when a spark battle happens at the kind of the end of a cycle, it's forced. If they're in the same partition, they just battle it out, and whoever wins wins with no additional bonuses. But we don't have that here, so we can skip right past that. Now we're going to talk about our countermeasure success or failure. Now we know we actually did this in this video. So alert to our presence. Our goal was to have a neural hub on the following number of servers, 1 for solo player. We did that. So we can flip this over now and actually see what happens. So we got the success event, and as you can see, there's a success or fail. This might be the first time you're ever seeing this, so I'll kind of show you. If we had a failed, we would have added 1 spark to a random partition at every server without a neural hub, which means we would have added a spark randomly to this server, this server, this server, and this server, because the neural hub is on Faith. Nasty. So that would add 4 sparks to the game, which would have been really bad. Good thing we passed it, because maybe something good happens, who knows. Add 1 data port anywhere on the network. Okay, that is awesome. So a data port is this thing, which means we don't even have to work our way up to build this. We just get this. So that's awesome. Now, what a data port allows you to do is allows you to teleport from it. So you can essentially teleport from it to anywhere else on the board. Now, we want to put this in a location that makes the most sense. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, probably the best place to put it, and this is really sketchy. Actually, you know what? It might be, I think putting it here is good. So I'm going to probably put it right here because it's going to allow us to teleport away from this. And then later what I can do is shift out the data nodes that are in here that we don't need in here anymore to these other partitions and maybe further in so that we can kind of move to wherever we need to go next kind of thing. So another thing to make mention is you'll notice things are pretty tight on these partitions. Richard Wilkins has already mentioned that these are going to be growing in size. So when the Kickstarter goes through, this is going to grow a little bit so that there's actually more space, because at the end of the day, you can really have one of each of these installations on one partition. And as you can see, it gets pretty clustered after a while. So anyway, so that's really awesome. It says, is she getting senile? She knew we were here, and yet we were able to steal an advantage from her. Awesome. Okay, now what you do is you follow these arrows, and this is where things get a little interesting. So basically you're going to look for the highest, so in this case you're going to look for the highest number and you're going to move it down, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to double check that really quick. So the arrow is pointing down, which this one is. You move each spark token located on the highest number partition that contains a spark to the next lowered number. So that would be number 3 coming down to number 2, if I'm not mistaken. And that would probably be it. Yes. Yeah. So it's going to be nasty. So essentially, this is going to you'll notice it's either going to be the highest going down one or the lowest going up one. So they're basically coming together slowly, which is not fun. So at least these guys didn't meet up. That's good. It gives us another whole turn or cycle to kind of deal with stuff. Hopefully, the yellow one here is just to go up. Well, the great thing is, guys, we don't have a single one on yellow, which is called Virtue. So Virtue's clean. Freedom had one come on it, or one move. Sorry, not come on it. This one here is Faith. So Faith is going to have one go down, which means it's going to be 6 is the highest partition. So when it's going down, it would be dropping down into my area. Oh, wonderful. So it drops right into where I am. That's no good. No, let me think about that. Is that going the right way? Let me think. That would be going down. It would be going this way, I assume. So 6 down to 5 would make sense because it's the highest partition down to the lowest partition. Yes, it would be 5. Okay, that's good. Whew. I mean, it's not good. We still have to deal with it. But okay, and then blue would be lowest number to the next number up. So this would be 1 moving up to 2. So that's something we're going to have to talk about and deal with as well. But now we successfully completed this card and it can be tossed. Now we can take a look at the next card just for the heck of it because we're already here. It's called Viral Upload. It says goal, have 1 or more viruses on every open partition on Virtue and Salvation. Oh my gosh, what a terrible card to get in this game for me, because you know what I did? I created 2 servers right here side by side that literally there's an opening on every single side of these. That means we need viruses in every single partition. This is going to be ridiculously hard. Okay, and I probably made life harder on myself by keeping them spread apart like that. So that's going to be wild. Now I'm kind of crying inside a little bit. Okay, so we've moved our spark out. So now we're moving to the refresh phase. And so at this point, we're going to set aside our active countermeasure, which we did. We have this one now kind of in play. We're going to reshuffle our decks. So obviously the Renegade, we only have 1 Renegade. So I'm going to be doing this really horribly with 1 hand. So I'm just going to kind of make a couple piles here and I'm going to divide things up. I would do this with 2 hands so you guys didn't have to suffer through this, but then I'd have to drop the camera. Good thing there's only 15 cards, so it's pretty quick. All right, so I'll split the deck a couple times. It's going to be interesting for sure. Getting a virus on every single server is going to be a little bit wild. So, and then we're going to go ahead and empty the Hack Shack. So this whole Hack Shack, including the Console Cowboy, gets dumped. So everything comes out of it, including the cards I deleted, and it's kind of like a refresh. So we lost the Console Cowboy, sadly, and we start, I guess this would be cycle 2, round 1. And so we're at the start of turn setup, and you know what happens at the start of turn is the mother card initiates and does her 1 spark on my access point, causing me some grief. they haven't caused enough grief already. We're going to restock the Hack Shack, so we're going to go ahead and grab some cards. Oh my gosh, we got another digital tattoo. We got a replicant jar. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's really nice. Self-modifying inhibitor. I love these. I already have one. It allows me to delete sparks and put a replicant down. That's huge. I want that now. And a data shift. Perfect. So maybe I'll get that really bad one information card I have in my hand in the first turn. I can get rid of it and get data shift. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and roll for sparks. Now this is interesting because on the mother card now you'll notice at the very, very bottom, if it'll focus, here we go, it has 2 pips. So we got to roll twice now because we are on the silver level. So we're going to go ahead and grab the white die and the server die, or it's called the partition die and the server die. Roll these. We got a green 6. Okay, so that's good. It didn't I mean, it's not good, but it didn't bundle up anything. We got to roll one more time. Oh, that's not good. Okay, that actually landed right where we are, guys. So we got a spark right where we are, but that could be okay because at least we can deal with it. That's kind of interesting. So there's our 2 rolls and we're all set there. And then the sparks are done and we can, that's it. We're moving right into the playing of the cards. So obviously I haven't taken my hand of cards yet. I probably should have done that. But here we go. Let's move this over and pull our cards for the next turn so you guys can see. Look at that. We got super lucky. That's the card I was talking about, hoping to get so we can swap it out for a better movement. We also got, oh good, we got some we got some destruction. We got the dancing pig back. We got more movement, which is never a bad thing. And awesome. Okay, looks like we're gonna be able to maybe create some viruses here. It might be a high priority. But like I said, there's also some really good cards in this pile now. And this dancing pig may not last very long because I'm kind of eyeing one of these 2 cards over here. I don't know which one I'm going to get, but you guys in the comments below, I'm going to do a quick scan over because at this point in time we're technically in cycle 2 and literally at the start of the Renegade actions kind of section of the command phase. So we're kind of trucking along at a good pace. And so what I want you to do is take a look at the board, and I'll just give you kind of a quick scan of things, of how things are going. And I want you, if you're familiar with the rules or you have any strategy, this is going to give you a heads up as to what we've got in the Hack Shack, as well as on the servers for Sparks. And you can let me know what you think we should be doing in this video in order to pick up things from here, or what we should use in our hand per se, like during the turn. So let me know in the comments below. I think that'd be great, and we can get some feedback on what we should do next. And I'll give you one nice look at the wonderful countermeasure that's going to mess with us the entire cycle long. So far, this game is really fun. And the thing is, you'll notice, like, these videos are, this one here is about 22 minutes or so. But again, I'm talking through everything. So if you were sitting at a table playing this game, you'd be making decisions. There's less talking. You're kind of thinking things through. This is a quick game. I think you could, if you force yourself to make quick decisions, you could rip through this fairly fast. But you can also get into a state of analysis paralysis where you'll sit there for a very long time trying to min-max your turns. So it's really good that way. It gives people that don't care and just want to play quickly, they can just shoot from the hip, or you can sit there and mull it over until your brain hurts. So it's nice that way. You can play it either way. I imagine the person that strategizes will likely have a better chance of winning though. So anyway, hope you guys are enjoying the playthrough. There will be another video in the coming days. And if you have any comments, throw them in the feedback below or comments below. Give me a like. Let me know you like what you see. And I will see you in the next episode of Renegade. Thanks for watching, guys, and keep on rolling solo.